Avalon emerged from the darkness of space like a beacon, a sprawling frontier outpost nestled at the edge of the unknown. The colony, a labyrinth of sleek, angular structures juxtaposed against time-worn relics of an ancient civilization, pulsed with the lifeblood of humanity's relentless pursuit of discovery. Neon lights intermingled with the natural glow of distant nebulae, casting long, mysterious shadows over the maze of corridors and docking bays. Captain Mira Quell stood on the observation deck of her command vessel, her gaze fixed on the shifting panorama of Avalon below. Her eyes, keen and reflective, absorbed every detail, from the iridescent trails of starships zipping along designated routes to the silent, imposing silhouettes of abandoned research stations. There was a raw, unrefined beauty in this place, a convergence of high-tech ambition and the unyielding spirit of pioneers daring to live on the fringe. Inside the vessel, the hum of advanced machinery and the soft murmur of a dedicated crew filled the air. Myra's reputation as a skilled pilot and strategic thinker had been earned through countless encounters with the unpredictable vastness of space. Yet, beneath her composed exterior lay a mind constantly at work, piecing together hints of anomalies and hidden truths that the everyday bustle of Avalon could never fully conceal. Every corridor of the outpost seemed to whisper secrets of the cosmos. Weathered walls bore the scars of past conflicts and silent wars fought in the cold void, while holographic displays offered glimpses into the history of a civilization that once thrived in this remote expanse. It was a place where every light flicker and every echo had a story waiting to be unraveled, a perfect stage for those who, like Mira, sought not only to command but to understand the enigmatic forces at play. Myra's thoughts were interrupted by the brisk steps of her first officer, who arrived with a data pad clutched tightly in hand. The officer's eyes sparkled with the urgency of freshly uncovered intel. Rumors of unexplained energy surges and peculiar signals emanating from deep within the uncharted sectors of space. As the information unfurled before her, Mira felt the familiar surge of adrenaline mixed with a tinge of trepidation. There was something about these whispers from the void that hinted at hidden dangers, as well as untold wonders. In that moment, amidst the soft glow of control panels and the ceaseless murmur of the outpost, Captain Mira Quell resolved to uncover the mysteries lurking beyond the safe confines of Avalon. The outpost, with its blend of futuristic ambition and echoes of a forgotten past, stood as a silent testament to humanity's perpetual dance with the unknown, a dance that Mira was determined to lead, no matter the cost. The corridors of the flagship buzzed with a low, restless energy, a subtle but unmistakable current of doubt that clashed with the routine order of military precision. Captain Mira Quell moved deliberately through these halls, her mind abuzz with quiet concerns that refused to be silenced by the droning cadence of orders. It had become increasingly clear that the aggressive maneuvers sanctioned by Admiral Victor Kane were sowing seeds of discontent among the ranks. In the dim light of the strategy room, Mira convened a discreet meeting with her most trusted officers. The room, lined with star maps and tactical schematics, pulsed with the soft hum of data feeds, each screen flickering with streams of information that hinted at irregularities in the Warfleet's operations. A seasoned communications officer leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper, recounting peculiar discrepancies in enemy detection reports, a detail that seemed to defy conventional military logic. "Captain, these readings, they don't add up," the officer murmured, his tone a mixture of awe and apprehension. "It's as if our sensors are picking up signals that shouldn't exist in these sectors." Myra's gaze hardened as she absorbed his words, a silent resolve forming behind her eyes. She recalled past missions where the veneer of military superiority had masked unsettling uncertainties. Now, with every new piece of data, the fracture in the command's strategy widened, a fissure that promised both danger and opportunity. Later, in the quiet solitude of her personal quarters, Mira reviewed the intercepted transmissions with meticulous care. The layered frequencies, riddled with cryptic modulations, painted a picture of an enemy far more complex than initially assumed. The evidence was subtle but damning, tactical anomalies that pointed toward a deliberate misjudgment in the fleet's engagement protocols. Each anomaly whispered of a misstep in the otherwise seamless machine of war. Yet, the growing unease wasn't confined to data alone. Within the ranks, murmurs of dissent had taken root. Over late-night meals in the rec room, whispers of skepticism flitted across the gathered officers and crew members. One young engineer, his eyes filled with both determination and fear, confided in Mira between bites of recycled nutrient paste. "I've seen things. Fluctuations in our systems that suggest we're chasing shadows. Are we really confronting a worthy adversary, or are we just acting on bravado?" These conversations, though hushed and seemingly inconsequential, piled up like fragments of a shattered mirror, each reflecting a piece of the broader truth that the fleet was steering toward a perilous unknown. For Mira, the dissonance between her moral compass and the ironclad orders of Admiral Kane was growing unbearable. It was not just about tactical miscalculations, it was about the very soul of their mission. Was the pursuit of unbridled power worth risking the lives of countless souls? As the chapter of routine operations closed and the dawn of uncertainty crept in, Captain Mira Quell stood at a crossroads. The silent discontent among her crew and the mounting evidence of flawed directives had forged an internal conflict that was as personal as it was strategic. In the quiet hum of the warship, amid the intricate dance of light and shadow cast by flickering holographic displays, Mira felt the weight of leadership, knowing that the fault lines in command could either herald a catastrophic failure or become the catalyst for a transformative new path. In the hushed corridors of the flagship, the silence was punctuated only by the soft murmur of electronic data and the rhythmic tapping of keys. Captain Miraquel retreated to a secluded observation chamber, a sanctum where the starfield spilled through a vast viewport, and every flicker of light carried the weight of mystery. Here, amid the quiet solitude, she immersed herself in the intercepted transmissions that had unsettled the Warfleet's confident veneer. The messages were like fragments of a lost language, each frequency laced with cryptic modulations that defied conventional decoding. Myra's fingers danced over the controls, adjusting filters and enhancing the obscure patterns hidden within the static. As she delved deeper, layers of anomalies began to emerge, subtle shifts in spectral signatures, pulses that recurred at irregular intervals, and shadows in the data that hinted at an intelligence lurking beneath the surface. A breakthrough came in a flash, a burst of coherent signals interwoven with patterns that resonated with an almost musical cadence. The revelation was both mesmerizing and disconcerting. It was as if the alien force communicated not through brute signals of war, but with a nuanced symphony of information. Each note was deliberate, a calculated expression of a hidden purpose. The discovery sent a shiver of both awe and foreboding down Myra's spine. Driven by a mix of professional curiosity and an instinctive need to protect her crew, Mira decided to investigate further. She summoned a small team of specialists, their faces lit by the glow of holographic displays and the fervor of newfound purpose. Together, they traced the origins of the enigmatic signals to a long-forgotten sector of space, a region where the luminous trails of interstellar dust and the relics of ancient satellites painted a haunting picture of cosmic decay. In a secured lab aboard the vessel, the team meticulously analyzed the data. The alien transmissions defied the binary simplicity of human communication. They hinted at a sophisticated, perhaps even sentient, method of transmitting ideas, a language not merely of words or commands, but of intentions and emotions. One scientist, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and dread, remarked, "These signals, they're like echoes of a lost civilization. They speak of knowledge beyond our grasp and warn of perils we have yet to face." Myra's mind raced with possibilities. Was the alien force truly a foe, or could it be a misunderstood relic of an era when different beings ruled the cosmos? The thought that the enemy might not be driven by malice, but by a purpose unknown to humankind, unsettled her deeply. It was a stark contrast to the overt aggression of Admiral Kane's strategy, a reminder that in the vast expanse of space, power was often shrouded in enigma. As the analysis continued, more pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The irregular signals corresponded with fluctuations in the energy fields surrounding certain abandoned space stations. These relics that had once been centers of scientific marvel, now stood as silent witnesses to the passage of time and the secrets it had swallowed. Mira sensed that these stations might hold the key to deciphering the alien message, a key that could unlock a new understanding of both the enemy and the fate of the human Warfleet. In that moment, beneath the cosmic ballet of distant stars and the pulsating heart of advanced technology, Captain Mira Quell resolved to chart a course into the depths of the unknown. The echoes of the alien transmission had stirred something profound within her, a call to unravel mysteries that transcended the boundaries of warfare. With determination in her eyes and a quiet storm of questions raging in her mind, she prepared to lead her crew into a realm where every shadow might conceal a secret, and every signal could herald a revelation that would alter the course of their destiny. A palpable tension had begun to envelop the flagship, a storm not of nature, but of conviction and uncertainty that brewed beneath the metallic hum of the warship. The corridors, once filled with the steady pulse of routine, now vibrated with murmurs of disquiet. Captain Mira Quell sensed the shift even before it materialized in the strategic briefings. Something in the air had changed, a foreboding that whispered of dangers yet to be unveiled. In the heart of the command center, holographic maps and tactical overlays flickered over expansive screens. The visual tapestry was a delicate balance of light and shadow, a reflection of the duality tearing at the fabric of their mission. Admiral Victor Kane's orders were resolute, echoing the timeless doctrine of overwhelming force. But the undercurrent of anomalies observed by Mira and her team had seeded doubts among even the most stalwart soldiers. Late one cycle, Mira gathered her most trusted lieutenants in a cramped, dimly lit room, far removed from the grand displays of authority. The murmur of discontent was nearly tangible, charged with whispered theories and veiled concerns. One officer, his face etched with fatigue and resolve, leaned forward and stated, "Captain, our sensors keep picking up erratic energy bursts in sectors we thought were empty. It's as if the universe is trying to tell us something we're missing." Myra's eyes, usually so composed, betrayed a flicker of worry. She absorbed the officer's words like a cipher to an ancient mystery, each utterance drawing her closer to an unsettling realization. The enemy they were prepared to face might not be as straightforward as their adversaries believed. As the meeting progressed, a web of fragmented reports and subtle contradictions emerged, painting a picture of a cosmos where truth was obscured by layers of misinformation and half-truths. Outside the immediate sphere of command, on the lower decks of the ship, the crew whispered among themselves. In cramped quarters and echoing mess halls, debates about the fleet's true mission flared like sparks in dry tinder. One young navigator confided to another, "I've seen the readings, and they don't match the official reports. There's a storm coming, one that might tear us apart if we don't understand it." These conversations, carried on the winds of discontent, built a pressure that threatened to shatter the rigid structure of military discipline. Meanwhile, Admiral Kane remained an imposing figure, a steadfast beacon of authority amidst the gathering chaos. His belief in the supremacy of force and unyielding order was ironclad, and his public pronouncements left no room for doubt. Any deviation from the planned offensive would be seen as weakness. Yet, beneath his stern exterior, there lay a shadow of personal conflict, a nagging awareness that perhaps the path of brute strength might lead them into unforeseen perils. But such thoughts were locked away, hidden beneath layers of duty and hardened resolve. Back in her private quarters, Mira sat alone, poring over layers of encrypted data and cross-referenced logs. The glow from her datapad cast shifting patterns on her face, illuminating the determination and worry in her eyes. Every bit of information that contradicted the expected narrative only deepened her sense of foreboding. The gathering storm wasn't just in the outer reaches of space. It was rising within the ranks of her own fleet, a silent harbinger of the trials that lay ahead. In that charged atmosphere, the imminent clash of wills and ideologies loomed ever larger. The crew was poised on the brink of a decision that could reshape the very foundation of their mission. The erratic energy bursts, the whispered discontent, and the stark difference in leadership visions all pointed to one inevitable conclusion. The current course of action, dictated by unyielding military doctrine, was destined to collide with the unpredictable forces of the unknown. As the warship hurtled deeper into uncertain space, The gathering storm promised not only external conflict, but an internal reckoning, a moment when the truth, no matter how elusive, would force its way into the light. The tension that had been mounting like an unseen force was now ready to burst forth into the void of space. The Warfleet, a gleaming assembly of starships bristling with weaponry and purpose, advanced steadily toward the foreboding sector where the enigmatic enemy was believed to reside. Captain Miraquel's hands gripped the navigation console as the flagship surged forward, its engines roaring against the silence of the cosmos. Within the bridge, every crew member was hyper-aware of the gravity of the impending engagement. Holographic maps lit up with clusters of data points, each one representing a potential threat or hidden clue about the alien force. Myra's eyes scanned these displays with a mixture of determination and trepidation. She knew that each moment brought them closer to a confrontation that could irrevocably alter the course of their mission. As the fleet crossed into the darkened expanse, the first signs of the unknown emerged. Luminous tendrils of energy slithered across the void like cosmic serpents, weaving patterns that defied human logic. The sensors registered rapid, unpredictable fluctuations, a dance of light and shadow that was at once beautiful and ominous. It was as if the enemy had chosen this moment to reveal itself, not with the clamor of battle, but with an eerie, spectral display that sent ripples of uncertainty through the crew. On the command deck, Admiral Victor Kane's voice cut through the ambient hum. "Engage defensive protocols and maintain formation," he ordered, his tone unyielding and precise. Yet, beneath his authoritative command, there was a flicker of something unreadable, a hint that even he sensed the anomaly was more than a mere tactical maneuver. Myra's thoughts raced. The signals that had haunted her investigations now materialized before her, a chaotic blend of electromagnetic pulses and silent, deliberate rhythms. It was a spectacle that rendered the usual certainty of warfare into a realm of questions. Was this display a prelude to an assault, or a calculated invitation to test the resolve of the human armada? In the midst of the unfolding chaos, Mira made a decisive call. "Divert a reconnaissance unit to flank the eastern quadrant," she instructed calmly, her voice steady despite the storm of data flashing across her screens. Her decision was not made in isolation. It was the culmination of nights spent poring over cryptic transmissions and witnessing the subtle discord within her crew. The order was as much an act of strategic brilliance as it was an act of rebellion against a one-size-fits-all approach to warfare. The reconnaissance unit, a nimble fighter ship with state-of-the-art sensors, split from the main formation and streaked into the eastern void. Its rapid departure was accompanied by a silent prayer from those who knew that every second counted in the delicate balance between discovery and disaster. As the minutes ticked by, the collective breath of the crew was held in suspense, a fragile moment where hope, fear, and duty converged into one decisive heartbeat. Outside the windows of the flagship, the alien tapestry continued its inscrutable dance. Bright flashes and deep, resonant pulses filled the darkness, each burst a coded message that the human instruments struggled to decipher. The fleet's formation wavered slightly, as if caught in a gravitational tug-of-war between calculated precision and the wild, untamed artistry of an adversary that was anything but conventional. Myra's mind was a whirlwind of tactical scenarios and moral quandaries. Every decision carried the weight of lives and the fate of colonies scattered across the stars. Yet, amid the chaos of a battle yet to unfold, she found a quiet resolve, a belief that understanding the unknown was the first step toward transcending the limits of mere survival. As the reconnaissance unit transmitted its first set of images and data back to the flagship, the revelation was stark. The alien force was not a haphazard collection of rogue elements, but a unified entity with a depth of strategy and purpose that challenged every preconceived notion of warfare. The images flickered on the main screen, structures that defied gravity, formations that seemed to communicate through silent signals, and energy fields that bent the very fabric of space. In that moment, Captain Miraquel recognized that the fleet was not just about power and might. It was about understanding the mysteries of a universe that was far more intricate than any human doctrine. The breach into the unknown had become a crucible for transformation, where each decision was a step toward redefining what it meant to be a guardian of civilization. With the alien display continuing its haunting performance, the flagship surged deeper into the heart of the enigma. The battle was imminent, but it was not one of mere firepower. It was a confrontation of philosophies, a clash where the courage to seek truth was as vital as the skill to wield a weapon. And as the stars bore silent witness to the unfolding drama, the fleet moved inexorably toward a destiny that was written not only in the stars, but in the indomitable spirit of those daring enough to challenge the unknown. In the midst of a swirling cosmic maelstrom, where the stars themselves seemed to pulse with unspoken truths, the flagship's command center became the stage for an inevitable collision of philosophies. The atmosphere was electric with tension as Captain Mira Quell and Admiral Victor Kane found themselves face to face, two figures bound by duty, yet divided by conviction. The room was dimly lit by the glow of holographic tactical maps and streams of raw data, each projection a silent witness to the unfolding strife. Myra's steady gaze met Kane's, and in that silent exchange, years of unyielding discipline and quiet rebellion converged. The once familiar lines of authority now blurred beneath the weight of moral quandaries and the encroaching chaos of the unknown. "Admiral," Mira began, her voice measured but firm, "we stand on the precipice of decisions that will haunt us for generations. The data, our own sensors, suggest that our adversary is not a mindless force of destruction, but a collective intelligence with a purpose we barely understand." Her words hung in the charged air, each syllable a plea for reconsideration. Kane's eyes narrowed, the steely resolve that had carried him through countless battles now marred by an undercurrent of uncertainty. "Captain, our orders are clear. Strength and decisiveness have always been our greatest weapons. We cannot afford the luxury of hesitation. Empathy in warfare is a risk we simply cannot entertain." His tone was as unyielding as the cold void outside, yet even he could not entirely mask the tremor of doubt in his voice. A brief, heavy silence fell over the room as the two commanders weighed the gravity of their positions. Around them, the crew held their collective breath, the tension in the air palpable as if the very fabric of space were listening. Mira leaned in, her eyes softening with a mix of determination and compassion. "Admiral, the enemy's signals, they speak of a history, of civilizations that once flourished with wisdom and restraint. By dismissing these hints, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past, an all-consuming war that leaves nothing but ashes in its wake." Kane's gaze wavered as he processed her words. The steady hum of machinery and distant alarms punctuated the intensity of their dialogue, mirroring the internal battle raging within him. "You suggest that we show leniency," he challenged, the word hanging between them as if it were a loaded charge. "That we delay our assault in favor of deciphering mysteries that may be nothing more than desperate signals in the void." "Not leniency," Mira replied softly, "but prudence. We owe it to our people and to the universe to seek understanding before unleashing devastation. Our might must be tempered with wisdom, or we risk becoming the very tyrants we claim to fight." Her words, laden with quiet urgency, resonated with the ideals of a future where strength did not have to come at the cost of our humanity. For a long, heart-wrenching moment, the room seemed to shrink around them, each heartbeat echoing the weight of their responsibility. Admiral Kane's jaw clenched as memories of past battles and hard-won victories mingled with the possibility of an alternative path, a path where empathy and calculated risk could redefine warfare. Yet the entrenched doctrines of his past were not so easily abandoned. Finally, with a voice that bore the burden of command and personal conflict, Kane spoke. "Captain, if we are to venture further into this unknown, we must act as one. I will reconsider the pace of our advance, but understand, any deviation from strength will not come without cost." His words were a reluctant concession, a brittle bridge between two diverging ideologies. Myra's eyes shimmered with a glimmer of hope and resolve as she replied, "Thank you, Admiral. Our choices now will echo into the future. Let us decide with both our hearts and our minds as we face this storm." In that pivotal exchange, the spark of an uneasy alliance was lit, a fragile synthesis of discipline and discernment that might yet steer their course away from irrevocable calamity. As their conversation drew to a close, the command center seemed to exhale, the charged energy settling into a heavy silence filled with possibility and impending change. The confrontation of ideals was not merely a clash of personalities, but the birth of a new strategy, one that would shape the destiny of the fleet and perhaps the very future of humanity in the endless expanse of space. The battlefield of space had transformed into a theater of high stakes and split-second decisions. Amidst a torrent of laser fire and the hypnotic dance of energy shields, Captain Mira Quell found herself at the nexus of a moment that would alter the course of destiny. The warship's interior pulsed with urgency, each alert and blip on the holographic displays an unyielding reminder that every heartbeat counted. Outside, the void came alive with the chaos of combat. Alien formations, mysterious and ethereal, wove intricate patterns against the backdrop of flickering starlight, their silent communication a stark counterpoint to the thunderous clamor of human ordnance. The flagship, with its proud silhouette carved against the cosmic tumult, served as both a fortress and a crucible for the shifting tide of conflict. Deep within the command deck, a critical decision hung in the balance. Myra's hands danced over the controls, recalibrating systems with a blend of practiced precision and instinctive rebellion. The reconnaissance unit had returned with evidence that shattered long-held assumptions. The alien force was not simply an aggressor, but a collective intelligence defending its ancient territory. In that revelation lay the tipping point, a precipice where the path of unyielding military might teetered against the promise of enlightened restraint. The pressure was relentless. Every officer around her, every soul who had placed their trust in her leadership, awaited a decisive move. With the Warfleet's formation wavering in the face of alien ingenuity, Mira realized that the coming action could not merely be an extension of orders. It had to be a transformative pivot. All units, prepare to engage with adaptive protocols, she commanded, her voice slicing through the clamor of alarms and urgent chatter. Her order was not merely a tactical maneuver, but a declaration of intent, a subtle defiance of the conventional doctrines that had guided them thus far. In her eyes burned the conviction that to survive the encroaching storm, they must embrace a strategy that blended valor with vigilant curiosity. In that charged moment, as the flagship lurched forward into the fray, a ripple of collective resolve surged through the crew. The alien display, with its silent pulses and radiant arcs, no longer inspired fear alone. It beckoned with the promise of undiscovered truths. For every burst of photon fire that lit the darkness, there was a whispered hope that understanding might still triumph over the carnage of war. On the bridge, Admiral Victor Kane's gaze was fixed on the unfolding battle, a battlefield that was quickly becoming a crucible of his long-held certainties. The discord between his rigid approach and Myra's evolving strategy was laid bare in the rapid cadence of combat. As the flagship's shields absorbed shockwaves from unforeseen enemy tactics, Kane's expression shifted subtly, an acknowledgement that the rules of engagement were being rewritten before his eyes. In the chaos of the tipping point, Myra's mind raced. Every tactical display, every instinct honed by years of navigating the cosmos, converged into a single, defining moment. With a swift maneuver that defied conventional wisdom, she ordered a targeted redirection of power, a calculated risk designed to exploit a gap in the alien formation. The gamble was monumental. A single miscalculation could send the fleet hurtling into oblivion. Time seemed to slow as the flagship's engines roared in response to her command. In the ensuing silence, punctuated only by the rhythmic beeping of consoles and the deep hum of repurposed energy, all eyes were riveted on the unfolding gambit. The alien force responded in kind. A cascade of luminescent signals rippled across the void, a silent acknowledgement of the audacity of their human adversary. Then, as if the universe itself had paused to witness the outcome, the balance shifted. The tactical gap widened, a fleeting window that Mira seized with unwavering resolve. The flagship surged forward, leading a precise strike that cut through the chaotic formation like a blade of light. The battle, once a swirling maelstrom of uncertainty, now pivoted on this singular, daring move. In that climactic moment, the tipping point was reached. The decisions made, the risks taken, and the ideals challenged coalesced into a new reality. A reality where the clash of ideologies was not defined by the destruction of war, but by the possibility of transformation. As the resounding echoes of combat faded into the starry expanse, Mira knew that nothing would ever be the same. The Warfleet had not only engaged an alien adversary, but had also ventured into uncharted territories of its own soul, forever altering the narrative of humanity's march among the stars. The void, once ablaze with the fury of combat, now lay quiet, a vast canvas of starlight and muted echoes where the chaos had once reigned. In the lingering stillness that followed the tipping point, the Warfleet began to regroup, and the true cost of the battle slowly etched itself into every scarred panel and every weary gaze. Captain Mira Quell stood on the bridge of her flagship, the light from distant stars reflecting in her eyes as she surveyed the aftermath. Around her, the once proud formation of vessels was scattered and scarred, bearing silent testimony to the monumental gambit that had shifted the tide. The alien force, enigmatic and elusive, had withdrawn into the cosmos, leaving behind only faint trails of energy that whispered of its abiding presence. In the days that followed, the corridors of the warship were filled with quiet, introspective conversations. Officers who had once followed orders without question now gathered in small clusters, their voices soft yet resolute, sharing the weight of their experiences. In these hushed moments, the battle transformed from a spectacle of brute force into a profound reflection on the nature of power and the cost of conviction. Within the command center, holographic maps were slowly replaced by images of star systems on the brink of rebirth. The crew meticulously began the labor of repair and reassessment. Each repair a symbolic mending of the fragile bridge between hardened military doctrine and the gentle pulse of emerging understanding. Myra's own reflections were as turbulent as the cosmic sea outside, memories of near defeat intermingled with hope for a future unburdened by the rigidity of past orders. In quiet solitude, Mira reviewed the reports and logs, each entry a testament to lives saved and sacrifices made. There was a bittersweet beauty in the collective vulnerability that had surfaced. The rigid structures of command had been challenged, and in that challenge, a new philosophy was quietly taking root, a philosophy that held space not only for strength, but also for compassion and curiosity. Far from the command center, in the dimly lit observation lounge, Admiral Victor Kane watched the starry expanse with a contemplative gaze. The battle had tested his convictions in ways that he had never anticipated. Each pulse of distant light was a reminder that the universe was far more mysterious and interconnected than the strict orders he had once believed defined the art of war. In the reflective silence, he allowed himself a rare moment of vulnerability, a spark of recognition that perhaps a balance between power and understanding was not only possible, but necessary for the future of humankind. The flagship slowly resumed its journey, not towards a definitive destination, but along a path of cautious exploration and renewal. The confrontation with the alien force had not ended in total annihilation or triumph, but in a transformative pause, a moment to reassess and rebuild. Both Mira and Kane, along with the rest of the crew, began to chart a new course, one that sought to bridge the chasm between unyielding military might and the fragile hope of coexistence with the unknown. In the fading light of the cosmic dawn, the echoes of battle and the quiet murmurs of reflection merged into a singular, resonant truth. Humanity's march among the stars had been irrevocably altered by the choices made in the crucible of conflict. What began as a clash of ideals had evolved into an enduring dialogue, a testament to the resilience of those willing to challenge convention and embrace the profound mysteries of the universe. And so, with hearts heavy yet hopeful, the Warfleet sailed onward into the infinite night, carrying with it the promise of a future shaped by both strength and empathy. Every star, every silent nebula, bore witness to the transformative journey of a civilization learning to balance the relentless drive for survival with the tender, elusive light of understanding.